Hi everybody, it's Colin here from Woodthorpe International. Well, after Teddy Bear last week's, I told you in the last week's video that he'd been a superhero. On Wednesday, after the last week's video was released, they rang us again and said, can we have his sister please? We've got a very poorly dog. We need her to stay in all night because it's touch and go if we can operate. And when we do, we want her in. So we said, yeah. So at 9 o'clock last week, on Wednesday, she went in and did stay in overnight and they did operate. She was a very poorly dog, as we understand, in the morning, but they said because of the blood, she stands a good chance. So that's good, and she came back as happy as, you know, she was just so happy, it was unreal. They're totally different dogs, even though naturally they're the same breed, but he's just laid back, you know, high and happy to see you, and she's high and I'm really happy to see you. She doesn't like sitting still for long, but she does when she's at the vet's. She's very good, and they were very pleased with her. So that happened with Koala. My parcel came, what I mentioned hadn't. That came the next day, so that was good. The risers, and I needed the risers for this cutting here. Now, if I just use this bit of track, this line here is where it comes back from the fiddle yard. And if it goes straight up there, it takes stuff to the outside line, which is that one. That one is going to go up and come out of over there and join on to the inside line. Now, I'm not going to show you, I wasn't going to show you how I cut the foam. Basically, I have a foam cutter. I just cut the width I require, which is the width of a riser. I didn't want to have it as narrow as some of them are on America. And then I put a banking on here after on the slope. I had to bring it in for the bridge, of course. I could have cut it back here and had a grass going, but I'm going to put maybe a small wall up at each side. And then I continued up there and put the banking on. Then I put plaster cloth on. I ran out of plaster cloth of the last box I got, and I've reordered it. And instead of it being in feet, this time it's in meters. And I bought 80 meters of 150mm wide, 6-inch wide plaster cloth for next to nothing, £28. It sounds maybe a lot, but when you compare it to the rolls, and you don't get much on a roll, it adds up to more than £28. And it doesn't, if you keep it sealed, as in covered and stuff, as long as it don't get any moisture in it, it lasts. So I got that. Now what I have to do, if I just get down here, just to show you, get a bit closer. This line, as you can see, where's my assistant? Piece of track. So this line here, if you can look at that, you can see a bit of green, yellow-green wire and a blue. That's the side the colours are on. Now it comes from that because of this wire being green-blue. All of these are green-blue, except for that one, because that comes from round there. So the blue changes to this side closer to me. But that track down there has to be green and blue because it joins on that point where the power is going that way, say. So I'm just going to have to put a reverser on that. At some point, that is going to join onto this line. When I put proper pico tracking, which now I can, I think, and it'll curve round here to go in front of this side of the station platform. So if that bit of track is a platform, that'd be this side of it, closest to us. And that will then join on. Now, what I do want to make sure is, wherever that does join on, it's 2 meters from that point there. Because that's the end of the helix block and then a start of a block. And I want to have 2 meters for a train to be able to sit in it. So that's the only thing I've got to make sure. So that'll curve round here, go off, that'll join onto it, and then everything will be good. The reverser will just work, and that'll be it. Now, what we've got to remember here is these 2 lines will have to start to drop 1 inch. So it's 2 inches lower than this. So it goes underneath all the station line and the buildings because of me redesigning where the station is, because I want it as close to the front edge as I can. So it's going to have like this figure 8. It's going to go down there towards that side of the window round. It will then start to drop and then come up here, eventually back up to this height. And this line will stay at this height with that one. So everything will cross over okay. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to run this train this week, this TGV. This for me is my first known high-speed train, as in really fast train. Than this livery. Now, you know, they don't do this livery now. There's all sorts of different shapes, but I always wanted one of these, and I've got them. But I'll show you how this is coupled together. And I thought about last week when I said about how the Eurostars would, you know, couple together. I will show you that as well. So I got this one. So this is the same as the yellow. It's connected the same way. And as I showed you last week, it's got these kind of split push connectors. There's a little lip on both sides and the split, and they're just pushed together, and as you saw, you just lift it up. Now, that's the good one. This is the harder one. And like, you've got to be brave when you pull it apart and assume it's going to not break, because it's quite vicious. But that's the fitting there is on these. And then you just get them into the hole there and just click them back together. You heard it click, so now it's okay. But you pull that apart, and even if that bit goes into there and stays on that, it doesn't matter. You can just pull it out and connect it. That's how they go together. Now, the other one is an early version, is the TGV. I'll just get it and show you. What these have are these kind of a fitting, what go on the end of there at the bottom next to those two black little holes, and the other end has the same thing on, but it's either low, oh, sorry for touching the camera, it's either low or high. And what I mean by that is, if I just get another one, if you look in this piece, which is very flexible, very free moving, there are two holes where levels it can be put on, a low or a high. So that one is set to low, and so's that one. And then you just marry them together and they connect. What you can't do, if you can, I don't know if it's going to show up on that. You can see the top bit has the clipping. What you can't do is put two highs together. It won't go in. And that's why the alternate. And that's the early version of that design. I prefer that, for it's not as vicious as putting them together and pulling them apart. But Kato do a lot of units like that. So that's how they work. So there's the TGV running round, and I've got the E5 running with it. And that scenario could happen. iTrain or myself could decide to bring that lovely orange livery in from Europe on the upper level. I could bring it that way, drop it down from America, or I could take it down to England and bring it in on from the England layout. But what is going to look nice is when a train is coming from the fiddle yard, and if it goes up this line here to get to the inside line, which the E5 is running on, which is to its right, I just think that is just going to be so good. And if it wanted to be on the other line, it would just go straight on here and join on there where those plus 20s are. Now it could go through the fiddle yard. It could come from England, go through the Japanese fiddle yard, and then come in onto its layout. The maximum run any train can do is do all four countries and all four fiddle yards before it gets back to where it starts. And it can happen. It might not happen. The beauty of iTrain, when it does it, you'll never know where it's going until it happens. And if I do it, I might just go to one country. Like, as I've said before, I might only just come into this shed, or I might go into England and Europe and just run them up and down from country to country in that one shed. But if I only want to run one country, I can. They're all independent from each other. Well, I hope that was interesting. It was good fun laying that extra couple of bits of track and weathering the rails again. I had to get some more paint, so I did do that. And slowly, these plans of mine, what are in my head and on a bit of paper, are coming together. So thanks very much for watching. I'll speak to you next week. Bye for now. Bye.